Infor SunSystems with purchase management. The key point of this webinar is enhancing your purchase processes with Infor SunSystems. And in our agenda today, we shall look at the following. The first is who we are. The second, Infor SunSystems Purchase Module Overview / Features. The third is why use the purchase module. The fourth, we shall conduct a demo on the purchase management. And the fifth, we shall have a Q&A session, which is questions and answers. And at this particular moment, anyone who might wish to ask questions, give comments or clarifications will have an opportunity in which you can ask and share by tapping on the hand icon to raise your hand, and we shall respond. Or you can also post in our chat platform and we shall respond as well. Now, let's move on to our first item on the agenda, which is who we are. Flagzem System is an IT consulting company that partners with like-minded entities such as Infor and Sage to provide business management software solutions. Flagzem has over 15 years of experience with a clientele base of over 80 customers, and we operate in East Africa and beyond, where we have our offices both in Nairobi, Kenya, and Kampala, Uganda. As Flagzem, customer satisfaction and service delivery is our top priority, and that's why, apart from having a dedicated customer support, we also offer training services to our customers. And of course, this has been made possible by our team of professional and experienced staff working here. As Flagzem, we take pride in offering a number of services, and these include, the first is IT consultancy and training. We also offer software development. We offer management consultancy. We offer financial analysis. We offer investment advisory. We offer cloud hosting, also known as web hosting. And also finally, we offer business planning as part of our service. We also have a number of products we provide as Flagzem, and these include the following. The first product is Infor SunSystems. This is a modern, comprehensive financial accounting management solution designed to help international financial enterprises and the fast-growing companies to handle their complex financial activities. We also have another product known as the Infor Operating Services, or Infor OS. This serves as a platform for digital transformation. It is a central point for digital ecosystem where you can automate, anticipate, predict, inform the stakeholders in what they do within their businesses. Another product is known as the Infor Enterprise Asset Management, or EAM. Its core focus is to keep an accurate, detailed data of all the fixed assets of a company. Another product that we offer is the Infor Dynamic Enterprise Performance Management, DEPM. This is a platform specifically designed to improve the operational performance in order to handle complex activities accordingly, and which are associated with planning, budgeting, forecasting, in addition to consolidating all the financial activities of a business in one single solution. Another product we offer as Flagzem is the Infor ERP site, also known as the Siteline. It is an end-to-end enterprise resource planning solution that provides comprehensive functionality suitable for any process mode from make to store, engineer to order. We also have another product known as the e-procurement system. This is an in-house built system by our able staff, which can be integrated seamlessly with your financial management. It can be customized to meet your needs as it allows customers to plan, procure, and generate their POs electronically. We also have another product known as the Power BI reporting tool. This is a business data analytical service that delivers insight to interactive dashboards and the BI report. Finally, we have a product called the Customized Solution for Businesses and Organizations. This product, we do software development for businesses and organizations depending on their area of need. Last but not least, we have a product known as the Sage Financial HR, or Human Resource and Payroll. For more inquiries regarding our products and services, you can be able to contact us through the following contacts on both from our Kenyan office and the Ugandan office. Also, you can write for us through our email at info@flagzem.com, or you can access our website for more additional information regarding our products and services, which is indicated as www.flagzem.com. Or you can share with us through our social media platforms, that is Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Now, at this point, I would like to invite my able colleague, Mr. Steven, to take us through today's topic of Infor SunSystems with Purchase Management. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Wycliffe. Just as my colleague has mentioned, my name is Steven Achaki, consultant here at Flagzem, the Kenyan branch, that is Nairobi. And I'll be taking you through today's webinar, that is how you can be able to enhance your purchase processes using this powerful module in Infor SunSystems. So kindly allow me to share my screen. Now, SunSystems is, of course, as mentioned by my colleague, is a financial system, and it is separated in two major parts, that is the financials and the order fulfillment. And the order fulfillment is further module as has three sub-modules, that is the purchase order management, we have the inventory management, and we have the sales order management. So with focus to the purchase management, basically this module is used for creation, maintenance, follow-up, and analysis of various purchasing activities, and that includes the supplier management, procurement of goods and services, of course, and also be able to automate the purchase workflows and also have approvals at various stages of these purchase processes. So some of the benefits of maybe just adopting using this module in SunSystem is that you're going to have a simplified sourcing process. And when I say this is that you have a database of suppliers that are created in the system. So every time you want to process an order, you have a centralized database of the list of all suppliers that have been entered into your system, and you can always go ahead using the supplier codes, and you can just select from that specified supplier that you wish to do a purchase from. We also have quicker and secure PO approvals. This is a feature that provides multi-approvals at various levels, and you can have more than one approver, going through the PO and then approves, then it goes to the next approver, checks just for credibility and the integrity of this PO. And you can also have approvals based on the values of that particular PO. You can have PO maybe from 0 to 100,000, a particular approver, then from 100,000 to maybe 500,000, it must pass through another approver or a list of approvers that have been defined in the system. We also have real-time posting in the relevant accounts and the ledgers. This will reduce errors and delays in the updating of these books of account, because the system will be doing automatic posting in the various ledgers depending on the stage that you are at when you're processing these POs. We'll also have easy reporting. You can be able to generate various reports using various features that come with this particular module, and I'll be able to showcase this as we continue with the presentation. We'll also have a reduced physical document storage cost, and also you'll save on space, because most of your data will be in soft copy. You can have it maybe in a server somewhere, on a cloud, or depending on how you want to store your data. But you'll have a reduced physical document storage cost and space also on the same. We also have an automation of procurement tasks, that is from the point of requisitioning, the point of processing this particular purchase orders, receipts, and also invoices will be done automatically, and postings are also made by the system itself. So some of the features of this module is that you can be able to start an order from the point of requisitioning, process this purchase order, process the receipting stage, and also be able to have invoices raised by the system. And of course, at every stage, you can set up approvals depending on the structure or the policies of your organization. You'll also have the ability of uploading detailed orders and invoices, that is via MS Excel, using that an add-on on Excel called info query and analysis, you can be able to just by a click of a button upload hundreds of lines to the system. We'll also have an ability to set up varied order workflows and approval sequences. As I mentioned earlier, you can have multi-level approvers and also different sequences of approvers. Using also this particular order module, you'll be able to have a control over your expenditure, as you can set up a budget where the system will always be checking this budget and see if there's an available amount to be spent. So the system will be checking the available budget, the commitment budget, see the budget that has already been committed, and also comparing to what has already been actualized in the actuals, and it can be able to approve, or rather it can be able to notify the person processing this particular PO if there is an available budget for that amount specified in there, or the budget has been exceeded. And also, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have a direct update in the ledger and also the inventory throughout this process. So you do not have to go and update the inventory manually or even the ledger manually. So during the process of the PO, these will be done by the system automatically. You can also have, there's a feature where you'll have advanced searching, that is through the features, the filters that have been defined in the module, and can also drill specific order lines just to see details of these orders. And of course, you can also generate reports on the same. And another feature that comes with this particular module is that it can handle multi-currency when you're processing this PO. So you can have one line maybe in dollars, another line in British pounds, another line maybe in your local currency, another line in various currencies which are unlimited. So the system can be able to take various currencies. And this, of course, comes in handy when you're dealing with the companies which deal mostly with maybe exportation and importation, and they have to, to deal with the multiple currencies. Now, in some systems, there is a defined process that the system uses when you are processing these orders. The very first is the order entry stage, where, of course, you enter the order into the system. And then you have the order confirmation. At this point is where now the order is confirmed. And then you can go ahead to what we call the receipt entry and matching. And then you have the receipt transfer. This is where maybe you receive your goods at a particular place, and then they're transferred to another location for storage before they can be used or maybe resold. And then you have the invoice entry and invoice matching. So as I mentioned earlier, you can be able to have approvals at various stages of this particular order process. You can have approvals at the point of order confirmation, maybe at the point of invoice, confirmation, which is the very last stage. And you can also be able to print various documents. You can be able to print the local purchase, order form. You can be able to have a reprint of also those forms. You can be able to print the receipt note and all those other documents. So when you're processing the PO in the system, what happens in the background? As I mentioned earlier, the system does automatic update in both the inventory and the ledger. So you have the process, the stage for purchase order entry, and then we have purchase order confirmation. So at this stage, what the system is going to do is that we have a commitment ledger in the system which records every commitment that is being done in the system. So at the point of order confirmation, the ledger C, which is the commitments ledger, what is going to happen is that there will be a debit entry in the inventory account and a credit entry in the creditors account. So basically, the system is just booking this order, informing the system that this particular order has been committed. And it will now update the inventory in the commitments and then the creditor in the same ledger, the commitments ledger. And then after we receive these items, we do the matching and transfer. So this is at the point of the receipt. What the system is going to do is that it's going to reverse the earlier on, now, erasing that transaction in the commitments ledger by now debiting the creditor and crediting the inventory account. And then at the same time, because you have now received the items from the supplier, it will now have a credit, another entry in the actual ledger, that is the ledger A, where the system will now debit the inventory, and then it will credit. For my case, I'm using an approved purchase account, and this account is just holding this particular transaction until when will be invoiced by our supplier, and then this amount can now be credited in that supplier account. So here we've not been invoiced yet, but we've just received these items. After that, at the point of invoicing, where we'll enter our invoice into the system, match the invoice line with the order line, and then confirm this particular invoice, the system will now be able to debit the unapproved purchase account which I'm using, reversing that particular entry and now crediting the creditor's account. And then maybe later on a payment will be made, maybe through the bank or a cash payment, depending on how you're going to pay for those items. So at this point, kindly allow me to now log in to SunSystems. This is the interface that you'll encounter when you're logging in. So I'll first log in as the person who is going to approve to enter this PO into the system. That is PK1. I'll specify the date when I'm logging in. So this is the interface that you'll encounter, and the purchase order is entered into the system via the function purchase order entry. So I'll click on that, and then I'll pick a form to choose to use. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to specify my transaction type. I'm going to just narrow down to do a simple process for an inventory item. So I'll choose my purchase transaction type as inventory. And then, as I said, you have a centralized sourcing, database where you can have the list of all the suppliers in the system. So I'll select the supplier from whom I want to buy. I'll select the supplier code 820, that is Birmingham Communications. And then I'll enter the currency code that I'll be using for this particular process. I can analyze my POs depending on the types of analysis that you have in the system. For now, I'll just leave it as unanalyzed. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also set up approvals. So for me, I've set up approvals based on departments. So I'll enter the department, and then I'll also enter the tax, the tax analysis, that is V, indicating this is a vatable item, standard VAT. And then at this point, I'll enter my item code. My item code is GL3001. And then you have what we call the transaction description. You can give it a transaction description. Maybe I can just say this is purchase of GPS gadgets. And then I'll enter my quantity value. This is the number of the items that I wish to buy. Let's say I'm buying some 13 pieces. And then you'll enter the unit of measure. So you have units of measure which have been defined in the system. And then I'll choose each for this particular. And then we have what we call the unit price and the unit override price override flag. So let's say in a system, like in SunSystem, it provides you a platform where you can attach unit prices to your items under a function called item master. So let's say you have attached a specific price to your item, and then at some point where you are now processing this particular PO, the price has changed and you need to enter that price manually. So you'll go ahead and enter the manual price under the unit price value, and then you will come and check on the checkbox unit price override flags. This will just notify the system that you have entered in a manual price and it does not have to override this price as not existing in the system. But of course, if there is no change on the same, if you leave it blank, the system will automatically pick the price that has been set up for this particular item in the item master. So for me, I'll just click OK, and then automatically, I'm using budgets, and you can see that the system has notified me as I forgot to enter my budget account. So I have to enter the account that I'm using for my budget before the system can now go ahead and check if there is available budget for this particular PO, and if that budget has been exceeded or it is not exceeded. So I'll enter my code for my budget. That is the code for the budget. And then I'll click OK. So at this point, you can see the system has set up a price value of 8.3 and then calculated the net value, the tax value, and the gross value for the same. So at this point, because I'm using approvals, you can see the order status is released, open, but it's not yet approved. So even if I try to go and confirm this order, going to action and confirming this order, you can see the stage validation required 1 or more lines to be held. So the line will be held, and you can see now the line has been held, and you must now notify the person who is supposed to approve this document so that you can go ahead to the next stages. And the system has been set up in such a way that you can send automatic email notifications. So as soon as you enter that order and then you close the window, the system will send an email notification to the person who is supposed to be approving this PO so that he can be able to approve, maybe release the PO, and then you can go ahead and process further stages for this particular PO. So for me, I'll now close this window as the person entering the PO, and I expect an email notification to pop up so that I can be able to further process this particular PO. So I'll log out of the system. And then as I wait for the email to be sent to my account, okay, the email has already been sent here. You can see there's a new email, there's a new purchase order awaiting your approval, sent at exactly 11:22. And there is a document attached for the same, indicating the details for that PO. So you have the item code, the description, we have the quantity, all the information that is supposed to be in there in that particular document. And you can see I will have the approver data access group, the person who is supposed to approve this particular PO, and all other information. So I'll close that window. And then I'll log in now as the approver. The approver has a code ZZZ, and I'll log in as the approver. So this order is pending approval. And these approvals can be found under the function called the purchase order work queue. So only the persons who are required to approve this PO at this particular stage are the ones who can be able to see the orders that are in their work queue. So for this particular person have the rights to do an approval for this PO, so you can be able to see the details for the PO, and you can see you have the PO number 2141 and the details there, 13 units, the supplier code, and all that. So at this stage, you can be able to unapprove this PO maybe based on specific reasons, and you will have to give a reason code as to why you are doing an approval for the same, or if it meets the required standards, you can go ahead and do an approval for this PO. And let's say this PO was going through various approvers, approver 1, approver 2, approver 3. You can always come to actions, and then you can be able to see the approval stamp. So if it was supposed to go to the first approver, the second approver, all that information would have indicated here, and the approval status, is it approved or still not approved? So you can see I only have one approver, that is the supervisor, and the approval status is that it's not yet approved. So I'll go ahead and make an approval for the same, and you can see now the selected lines have been approved successfully. There is no data found because the line has been approved. So I'll close this, and then the person who is processing the PO will now get another notification. So as I be continuing, I'll be I'll not wait for the email to be sent. I'll just continue to the next stage, and then I'll show you when the email will have already been sent to my account. So you will receive an email notification that there is your PO has been approved. You can now proceed to the next stages of this PO. So I'll log in again as the person who entered the PO in the system. So we have done our order entry. That is the first stage, and we have approved our PO. So as I'll be continuing to approve our to process this PO, please allow me to just open another window where we'll be checking our inventory numbers. How are they being affected? So I'll go ahead to do an inventory inquiry just to keep that window open. And then I'll filter. There are various filters that you can use to narrow down to the specific item. This is GN3001, the item code. The location ID is appeared to be L B05. Then the warehouse is in London. So I want to first of all see the numbers of my inventory. So currently on hand I have 572 on hand, but the available quantity is 569 because we have some allocations. These some 3 units which have been allocated, maybe because we are processing a transfer to another place or for the purpose of sales, and they have been set aside for that particular purpose. So total inventory is 572. So I'll go back to my purchase order entry, and the bit of this is that the system will save that PO at the point of which it was left. So you can always come and query this particular checkbox, rather the search box. You click on the ellipse and you'll see the list of all orders which are arranged chronologically from the very first one to the very last one. You can see this is 2141, which is just our very recent PO entered in the system. Or if you know the code, you can always come and type it in. You type it in, and the system will generate the various detail for that PO. So you can see now the PO is still held, but the approval status is that it has been approved. So what I'm going to see do, I'm going to release this PO. So the PO has been released, it has been approved, and the status is that it is awaiting receiving. So at this point, when I close this PO, you can see that we have now reached at the point where we are committing amounts for this particular process. That is journal number 113 in the budget C, that is the commitment has been made. So let's say you've now, you've now booked this particular PO, and now you can see that the inventory account has been debited, the supplier account has been credited, and also the same for the purchase tax expense account has been debited by these amounts. So the system is just booking, is just simulating what would have happened in our actual ledger if the actual receipt had been made at the point of receipt of these items. So after the lead time has elapsed, so the email has already been sent. So I can now go ahead and show you purchase order has been approved. Please find the attached report. And this is the status. You can see that the status is now approved. Sorry, let me expand this. Let me expand my window. You can see the details that the item code, this, the person who did the approval and the status is approved, the approver ID, and the details for that particular PO. So this is an email that has already been sent. I was just checking to confirm. Now, we have already committed amounts for this PO. So what I'm going to do is that I'll go back to order entry at the point of receipt to process the receipt for these particular items. And then I'll reference my purchase order reference. So at this point, I'll go ahead to actions to receive these items. And of course, as I mentioned, you can be able to also print LPOs for this particular purchase orders. And that is done under actions. You can just come and then print the required documents for the PO. So this can be maybe sent to the supplier at the point of which you are now ordering, just to specify the details for your order. And this is the PO document. The name of the supplier, the PO, the purchase order reference, and the details of those lines. So with that, I'll go ahead to do a receipt for my items. So I'll receive my items, and keeping in mind that we have an inventory of 572. So I'll go ahead to receive my items. So here I'll come and check this box process and then create the lines. So I'll click on create lines. At this point, you can see that the details for that PO has been generated, the location ID, LGI, INSP. So this is the inspection point. So you can set up your system in a way that you can always inspect items before they can be transferred to their storage location. So this location ID is for inspection. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do an inspection for these items, because when you check on the inspection status, it's that it is awaiting inspection, and the transfer status, they're still not available for transfer. So they must be inspected first before they can be transferred to their next storage location. So I'll go to action and then go to inspect these items. So I'll click on inspect. You can see you have accepted quantity, you have a rejected quantity, you have the quantity that has been received. So depending, maybe some quantities could be accepted and others could be rejected because they are maybe faulty in some way. And then this can be now, the accepted quantities can be processed further with this PO, and maybe you can raise another, you can raise maybe communication with the supplier that some goods were found faulty, and then an exchange can be made, or maybe just a return of these items to the supplier. So let's say I'm going to accept these quantities. So I'll click on actions and then I'll accept. After that, you can see now the quantity accepted from 0 is now 13, same as the quantity received. And then I'll go back to action and complete these inspections. So when I click on complete, the system now takes me back to my earlier on home, and you can see the inspection status is complete. So at this point, you can also be able to print a document for the receipt. I'll be able to print a document for the receipt, so I can print one. Batch program executed successfully. And this will be the report that can be maybe accompanied with these items as they are being transferred to their next storage location. So here are the details. You can see the line, the accepted quantity. If we had rejected some, it will have indicated here. So it did not reject any item. So our rejected quantity is 0. So after this, I'll go ahead and finish my inspections. I'll go to click finish all. So as soon as I did that, you can see now that my transfer status is available for transfer. So I'm going to transfer these items from the inspection location to their final storage in the warehouse. So I'll click on transfer, and then I'll be taken to this window. I'll go ahead and select, if there were more than one line, maybe they're going to separate location, I will come and select each line, then select a transfer location, another line, select a transfer location. But because I just have one line, I'll just click on select, and that line can be, now be subjected here below, where I can specify the location. So this is the location ID, the location from where my cursor is, LGI inspection, and the location to ID is LB05. So this is the place where I want to store my items. And of course, if the place maybe is full and you want to change the location to another location, you can always click on the ellipse, and all the locations that have been defined in the system will be displayed from the very first one to the very last one. all these are locations that have been defined in the system. And of course, these are dependent on your organization, how you specify your locations, your warehouses, and all that. So after selecting the location to transfer these items, you can now go ahead and process this transfer. So I'll click on process transfer. And then the system will now, so you can see the status is closed and the transfer status is that it has been fully transferred. And as I mentioned earlier, at the point of receipt, matching these particular items and inspecting them and now being transferred to their various storage locations, the system will now debit our inventory account and then credit the purchase the supplier will now, rather it will now reverse the earlier on entry where it will now credit the inventory account and then debit the supplier, reversing the earlier on entered transaction in the commitments ledger. And at the same time, in the actuals, it is going to debit our inventory now and then credit our unapproved purchase to hold that transaction until when will be invoiced. It is like a suspense account for this particular transaction. So I'll close that. And then the system will now update the ledger and also update my inventory for the same. So you can see that the journal number 114 in budget C, that is the commitment, has been created. And basically, this is the reversal of the earlier on entry. And you can see another journal number 821 in the actuals ledger has also been created. So I'll show first the one for the commitments. Here it is. You can see the ledger code is ledger C, that is the commitments. What the system has done is that earlier on you had debited our inventory. So it is reversing that transaction by crediting the inventory account and then debiting the supplier account, and of course also crediting our tax expense account in the commitments ledger. And at the same time, because we've received these items and our inventory has increased, the system has now in the actuals, credited, a credit entry in the inventory variance account and then also a debit entry in our inventory account and credit entry in our unapproved purchase account to hold this transaction until when the line will be now transferred to the supplier account. So this is like a suspense account for this particular transaction. At the same time, I'll go ahead in my inventory inquiry, and then I will now go ahead and refresh. I'll maintain the code, the location, and the warehouse, and the quantity is now 572. So when I click here, you can see the quantity has been rolled up from 572 to 582. So there is an automatic update in both the ledger and the inventory amounts. And that is the process for, this PO until a point of receipt. So you can see it has been approved, it has been fully received, it is now available for invoicing, and the budget status is that it has passed my budget. So it is within the budget that I have set up in the system. So I'll go ahead now to process the invoice for this particular PO. So I'll click. And just to mention, under the inquiry, here you can also be able to see the historical data for this PO to see how we arrived at this particular 585. And you can see these tabs here. I'll just click on the historical transaction and you can be able to see the data for this from the very first receipt, if there is an issue, to the very last entry, which has been a receipt of 13 and has been rolled up from 572 to 582. So the system keeps track of all these transactions. You can be able to manage your inventory levels. So that said, I'll now go on to process my purchase invoice to enter these details in the system. Purposes of entering the transaction in the system is now when we now want to raise our invoice from the supplier. So I'll go ahead to the purchase invoice entry, and then I can enter my purchase invoice into the system. So here I'll go to actions, and then I'll generate a new invoice. So here I'm going to generate my invoice based on the purchase order reference number. So I want to generate a PO for rather an invoice for my purchase order 2141. So I'll click on that and then click OK. And the system will load the lines for that particular PO. So at this point, you can decide to generate and match automatically by the system, or you can just generate it and then match manually, line by line. If you maybe have more than one invoice that you wish to match, you can then go ahead to do that matching on the next window. So I'll just click on generate the invoice. So after that, you can see that invoice lines generated. So I'll close that window. And the status here is still open. And of course, I mentioned that you can also have approvals at different levels. So here, you can also set approvals. But for me, I only set approvals at the PO level. So after generating this invoice, you can see the number, the various values, the item code, the price, all this information. And also a purchase invoice reference has been generated by the system and assigned to this particular invoice. So I'll go to actions to now match my invoice to the purchase order lines. So you can see right now I have only one invoice, but I have various POs that are pending invoicing. So you can go ahead and select the line of purchase that you wish to match with the invoice to make sure that it is the correct data in the system. So you can see I have this PO, the supplier code, the PO reference, the purchase invoice reference, the item code, and all that value. And this here below on the order lines, this window, we have at the very bottom the same PO number 2141, which I wish to match, and the quantity, the unit price, the outstanding value, and the description for the same. So I'll select that line and also making sure that my line in the invoice line is selected, and then I'll go ahead to match. So I'll match this. After matching, you can see no lines from this invoice are candidate for matching because it was only one line, and I have already matched it with that one which was at the very bottom, and you can see now it has disappeared because the matching has already been done. So at this point, I can go ahead and confirm my invoice. So I'll confirm. And then as I scroll to the status, you can see now that the status has been closed. So I cannot do anything further. The invoice status is closed. And then at this point, the system, when you close this window, the system will now update the supplier account and also do the same for the unapproved purchase account. So a journal has been created. And as we wait for this journal to be processed, in the ledger A, that is the actuals. So we now have a credit entry in our supplier account. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this unapproved purchase was just a suspect account for this particular amount. So the amount has now been debited to the suspect account, clearing it because earlier on it has been credited, and the credit entry has now been transferred to our supplier account. So it is a liability now. We have been invoiced and we'll have to pay this amount when they fall due, depending on the date that you have agreed with your supplier. So this is the simple process. SunSystem has made it very simple to process your PO at various stages. So that is the very simple process of just going around the purchase process for an inventory item. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also be able to see some reports, generate some reports using what we call the info query analysis. And you can also be able to upload various lines of POs to the system just by a click of a button. Let's say you have, let me go to my Excel. Let's say you have a number. Let's say you have from from A4 all the way down to maybe A50. Going to the system and entering these details one by one, sometimes it can be tiresome. So Info Query Analysis has provided a room for this. So for me, I'll be processing these 2 lines just for the demo. And you can see there is this is just a template that you can maintain. And every time you wish to enter a PO, you just come and edit the purchase transaction type, maybe the budget account, the line number, and all that. And then you can be able to process your PO. So there is the feature called the data send. Here is where you'll use to send these POs to the system. So if I had several lines, all those lines would have been processed and sent to the system. So I'll click on data send, and then I'll just wait for it to respond. So here there is what we call the mapping, where you will map your various data cells to your to your template, and then you can be able to update your purchase order in SunSystems. So a beauty of this also is that once you load a definition, it will be saved. You can save it in the system. So the next time you'll just come and select that definition, as long as you keep the details of that template similar to the previous one, and then the system will now pick on the same and update these to the system. So I'll click on load definition. I'll choose internal definition, and then here I'll have this data send one as my definition. Click OK, and you can rename it. Let's say you have more than one definition and you wish to, they cannot have the same name, all of them. So you can rename them depending on the type of data that you wish to send to the system. So it will check the lines, check all the parameters to make sure that everything is okay, and then it will now load this particular definition. So you can see the definition has been set. We have the error cell J1, the comment cell J2, and that is you have J1 for the error details and J2 for the comment details, where you can be able to see what has been happening in the system. Whether if you have an error, it will be posted in the error cells. If you have maybe something that needs to be done before this can be processed, that is, you have an error, it will be posted in the error cells and details for the error that you have. And of course, if it is successful, you will see a comment in the comment cell and also details for that particular posting. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And I'll provide my credentials for SunSystems. That is my login credentials to SunSystems before I can be able to process these PO further. So you can see information that 2 rows of data will be transferred. I click OK, and then you'll enter the user details. So if you have set a password, you'll have to enter that password before you can process. But for me, I do not have my password for the user, so I'll just go ahead and click OK. And you can see data send has been submitted. Then confirm that. So we'll wait and see if you have posting details here for a successful posting, or if you'll have an error, and the system will indicate the type of error that we have. Okay, so you have here 2 records have been imported. So I'll just go ahead to edit this comment so that I can see it much further. So we have PO reference 2142 and PO reference 2143, each for every line of transaction. So as you can remember earlier, we had 2141 as our very last PO. So the system has added 2142 and 2143. So you can go ahead with the system just to confirm. And I go to my purchase order entry, and then click on the ellipse under the purchase order reference, then scroll to the very bottom. You can see you have line PO 2142 and 2143. So when I load this, you can see that 2141 PO for handheld devices, quantity is 8, the unit price are 6, and all that. And that is what is here. We have this handheld devices, units, quantity 8, the price is 6, the supplier, and also have another one, the second one for GPS mobile for an attachment, quantity of 6, and price of 8.3. So that will be the next PO. So I just maybe just come and say that I want a new order so that I can select that other order. Here it is 2143. Here it is GPS, mobile, GN31, the details, quantity value of 6, unit price of 8. So this is how you can be able to enter several lines of transaction just by a click of a button using MS Excel with the add-on of query analysis, which of course I'm using query analysis 11. So if I had various lines, all these will have been updated in the system. And of course, you can also be able to extract data. Let's say you want to see some PO with these details. You want to see the purchase order reference. You want to see the order date, the item code, the description, the unit price, all these. You can also be able to retrieve the same. Let's say you can see here I have my code for the business unit. I'm using PK1, and I also have the period. So I'm extracting this data based on the periods. So let's say I want to see some data from, let's say even 205, as long as they're in the system, and maybe period 3 of 205. So I'll just update that. And what I'm going to do, I'll go to recalculate my worksheet. The system will do the recalculation, and then it will retrieve the information. So you can see we have PO number 2085. We have the order date 205, 205. We have the item codes, the description, unit price, quantity, and all that. So depending on what you have chosen to display here. So this is the information that I just want to see. Let's say I want to now see data that I just entered in the system today. This is 2023. And we are in period 7 in the system. 2023, period 7 of 2023. Yes, if you can see at the bottom right where my cursor is, period 7 of 2023. So I'll enter here period 7, the same. And then I will recalculate my worksheet. So you can see here are the details for, you can see PO number 21, 43, 21, 42, and 21, 41, which I just entered, and the details for the same. So you can be able to extract different types of forms just by a click of a button, depending on what you wish to inquire from the system. So this is the basically the process for processing our POs using SunSystems. And at this point, I'll now finish my presentation, and I can now invite my colleague to handle the questions and answers session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Steven, for that wonderful, magnanimous, and great presentation that you have taken us through. And now, like I said, it's the time for our Agenda 5, which is the Q&A session, questions and answers, in which I will invite all the members of this session to ask, give comments or clarifications, because due to the great presentation, some important parts might have bypassed us. So we'd like to get some bit of review or rewind. So this is your opportunity for you to ask questions, or you can give comment, or you can give clarification. And by doing that, I will urge you to either use the hand icon by tapping to raise your hand, or you can share with us through the chat platform by typing your answer, your question, I mean, or comment. Please, yeah, members, the floor is yours to participate, and welcome. Okay, I can see a hand from Mr. Nyaga. Please, you can ask your question. I saw an hand from Nyaga. Please. Okay, on the chat platform, I can also see a question from Lillian asking, do the approvers require licenses to access the module? Does it come at cost? What is the cost?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lillian, for that question. So SunSystems, as long as you've purchased the the license that you require as an organization, these approvers are simply other users of the system. We have a feature called the data access group, which we use to create the various approvers. So just the same users that are using the system, depending on your level of authority in the organization, you can be assigned to be an approver at different levels of PO process. So it is not an additional cost. It is just the the part. It is a setup in the system that allows you to create these approvers. So it is not an additional cost, just as long as you have the license that you require as an organization to use the specific modules of SunSystem and also the number of users that will be using the system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Stephen. I don't know, Lillian, if you are contented with the reply.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My apologies for Nyaga, Frida. You have stated that you are speaking. Please, can you come up once more? Okay, another question from Lillian still. Does the module allow generation of supplier statements?
Okay, so Lillian, as you saw earlier, I extracted just a simple report from the system. So depending on the information that you wish to inquire from that system, you can define it, and then just by a click of a button, you can extract this data from using Q&A. So of course, you can be able to get these statements as long as you just specify the the required elements that you wish to see from that particular report. So you can be able to generate these reports using query and analysis.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Lillian, I don't know if the reply, you're well contented with the reply?
Thank you. It's clear also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We also have from Juliet a comment stating, thanks for the presentation. You have acquired some knowledge. Thank you, Juliet, for that. Okay, another comment from Kevin stating a question. I'm sorry I joined late, though I never anticipated missing. Just asking if you have another session. I'm representing HDC South Sudan, and we wanted to understand about SunSystem.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. We always have periodic webinars and trainings scheduled at different times of the year and months. And of course, if you meet something and maybe you just want to see more or maybe acquire more information, you can always contact us, and then you can able to assist you on the same, depending on the agreement with the management. But these webinars are also posted on our various online platforms, so you can be able to go ahead and check out maybe on our YouTube and any other platform that will be communicated by my colleague, and you can now just have a review of the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Kevin. I hope your question has been replied.
And then I can see another, are the forms, e.g. the LPO standard, or they can be customized? Yes, these forms can be customized depending on how you want them to look. Maybe if you just want to, to use maybe your corporate colors, add-ons, a logo of your organization, amend the lines, the columns, and all that, they can be amended, of course. Those are just simple templates from the system that I was using for the explanation. And I can see another one. Do the module include procurement process that can earlier than the PO processing? Yes, so you can start the PO in the system from a very stage of requisition. At the point of requisition, and you can also assign budget at the point of requisition. You can assign approvals at the point of requisition. A requisition can be approved before it can go ahead now to generate an LPO. So all those features are pre-PO processing can be included in the system. So I can see also another one. Thank you. Theory makes it appear complex, but complex a bit. But my practical is easy if the system is set with the agreed procedures. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Godfrey. Can see also from Masakoi. Every country has its standard LPO. Does the Sun system allow for the incorporation of this LPO in Sun systems? Yes, of course. As I said earlier, you can be able to customize these POs to fit your purchase processes. Also my colleague mentioned earlier, this system is it can be used by multinational organizations. So you are based in different countries, and these countries have their own ways of doing things, so it can incorporate all these features. And another one from Nyaga, can the system allow the LPO to have detailed terms and conditions? Yes, you can customize all these and add them to the LPO generated by the system. It is fully customizable depending on the information that you wish to add on that particular LPO. So of course, yes.
Okay, thank you for all the replies, Mr. Stephen. I hope all your questions have been answered, unless there's still one remaining.
Yeah, if yes, can the system serially generate unique identifier? Yeah. These are, of course, the system uses codes for identification, and there is no code that will be identical to another. You cannot also have two POs which have the same, a reference or a unique identifier. So everything in the system is set up in such a way that you can have that setting that you have a serial that will be generated every time you process an LPO. Every time you raise a document, this document, you can also include the person who processed it, the person who printed, the date, the time of printing. All that information for purposes of security can be incorporated in the LPO. So it is possible, yes. Can the system also house our procurement plan? So I'll not be so sure. So depending on the, on your procurement processes, the system can also be customized and can be, maybe you have another procurement a system that you are using, it can also be integrated with SunSystem. So you have just a seamless flow of information from one to another. So depending on your procurement plan, which can be different from organization. So the system gives a room for this customization and also integration with the other systems to make your process very seamless.
Thank you, Stephen, for the reply on the question with regards to procurement. I hope, Baba, you are satisfied with the reply, unless. Okay. Any other question or comment or clarification? Okay, thank you, Nyaga. Great presentation. We'll share the notes. Of course, we shall do that. Any more questions from members, comments? Okay, if there is no any more additions or questions or comments, I would like now to end the questions and Q&A session. And like I said, in case of more inquiries from us, you can contact us through our Kenyan office or the Ugandan office, as the contacts are indicated, or you can write to us through our email, or you can also access our website to get more additional information, or you can share with us through our Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn platforms. Thank you once more, dear members, for your participation in the Q&A session. Okay, I can see Francis. Thank you very much for your presentation. Please continue educating us. Thank you, Francis, for that. And I also want to thank everyone who attended and participated in the session. So on our next upcoming event, we shall have a training, which is customized training for info Q&A and reporting. And that will be held in the month of October from 11th to 13th. And I pray that you'll be safe in order to attend and hope to see you there. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank all our clients for their continued support and attending this webinar, our prospective clients for finding time to also attend this webinar too, and appreciate everyone who asked questions, gave comments and clarification. Also not forgetting the FlagZem teams from Kenya and Uganda. Thank you for making it possible. With great humble, I want to thank our technical director, Mr. Isa, and not forgetting our CEO, Madam Mariam, for their logistical and operational support